Hello everyone, Swagatam and very warm welcome to all of you at this amazing platform of PW Gulf. My name is Aman, your favorite maths buddy. Today I am going to talk about Chandrayaan. Chandrayaan, yes, the lunar mission from India. I want you to think about this, how can we relate that part with the mathematics? If you can think about something, that's good. If you couldn't, I have another example for you. You must have seen Bumrah bowling. Now, you must have seen a ball tracking thing. How do we track that ball? How do we track that ball? Now, all these things are related to a chapter which is known as quadratic equation. A chapter of quadratic equation. Another example which I can quote you for this part is when you are sitting by the side of the lakes, enjoying your time. Now, most of the time, this is a habit, you pick up a stone and throw like this. I hope you must have done sometime. Now, what happens is stone travels in the projectile motion. This projectile motion, when you convert in the mathematical form, it will come as a quadratic equation. And that is what we are going to talk about today. So let's focus what are the key points which we are going to learn in quadratic equation. In quadratic equation, first thing first, we are going to introduce the topic. And for the introduction, there are prerequisites. What are the prerequisites for it? Prerequisite is the chapter of polynomials. If you have learned the chapter of polynomial in our revision series, things would be quite easy and fun for you. If that's not the case, then you might have to ponder a bit more. After that, we're going to talk about quadratic formula which act as a foundation stone for this particular chapter. And finally, we are going to talk about the application, not the application of like Chandrayaan or the projectile motion. We are going to talk about the application which you can relate to your real life. So that is a point which we are going to cover in today's session. So why waste any more time? Let's start the session and understand what exactly is quadratic equation. Coming to the part of introduction of quadratic equation, you must remember polynomial, an algebraic expression where the variable was having a power which has to be a whole number. It cannot be a negative term, it cannot be a fraction basically. In polynomials, we learned about the classification of polynomials. I must have given you an example why we need to classify. If you remember, then good. If you don't, you need to go and watch that video once again. Now, in that, what was the classification? The classification was very simple. The first classification which I talked about was based on the degree. Linear and quadratic polynomials. These are the two things which I talked about. Degree, is this something new? I hope you remember what degree is. Degree basically is the power of the variable. Now, if the power of the variable is simply 1, in that case, I call it to be linear. And linear, when you represent on the graph, people will find a line. And hence, linear, simple to understand, linear can be easily seen along with line. Then, after we move on from linear part, we come to the part where the degree or the power of the x comes out to be 2. Equation of this form, they are pretty common over here. Over here, we are having x and the highest power of x is 2 and hence they are called as quadratic. There is a confusion. What confusion? If you remember quadrilateral, I hope everyone knows quadrilateral. A polygon having 4 sides and quad basically means 4. Quad basically means 4. So why are we calling this as quadratic? This comes from a Latin word quadranto, where we basically have x squared. We basically have x squared and that is the reason it is used as quadratic. For the power 4, you have to think what do we use? What is the term which we use for power 4? This is the homework for you. I hope you must be doing that. In this part of quadratic polynomials, there were 3 cases which I draw. What were the 3 cases? I had drawn the graph in this manner where we were having 2 zeros, or I must say the 2 roots. Other case, there were 2 equal roots like this, and there was a third case where we were not having any kind of a root because the parabola is the graph which we observe once we plot the equation, quadratic equation, and we found out in this case we were having 2 points where it was intersecting x-axis. Here only single point and here there was no point at all. This is what we had already learned in the polynomial case of quadratic polynomials. Now, what changes when we say quadratic polynomial and quadratic equation? I hope you remember we talked about algebraic expression and algebraic equations. Algebraic equation and algebraic expression had only one difference, and that difference was of this sign, You must be familiar with this sign over here. This is equals to. So quadratic equation is nothing but when a quadratic polynomial is used along with the equal to sign and we get an equation. What kind of equation? I just wrote x square plus 4x plus 3. I told this is a polynomial. If I put a equals to sign and put equals to 0, this is now a quadratic equation. This is how quadratic equation works. What are the very basics? The very important thing which we need to remember over here. First thing about the degree. Degree should always be equal to 2. Degree should always be equal to 2. What do we mean by degree? Degree is the power which x is having and it has to be 2. It should not be greater than 2 because greater than 2 is cubic, and it should not be less than 2 because in that case it will become linear where we'll get a line graph. So degree should always be 2. Apart from that, we must talk about the coefficients of x square, the coefficient of x and the constant value. These are the three important things which we have in quadratic equation. How and why, what important role does they play? We have a general way by which we can write a quadratic equation. Ax square plus bx plus c. This is a general form in which we write a quadratic equation. And you will realize why I am writing in this form, because there will be a formula which I told you is a foundation stone of this chapter, a quadratic formula that will be using this a, b and c. One thing which we need to remember over here, if I write an equation where this ax square term becomes 0, if I say this ax square term becomes 0, not this one, this bx remains as it is, plus bx remains as it is, but this terms become 0. What happened? In that case, can I call it to be a quadratic equation? Think about it. I told you it's very, very important that x should have a power of 2. If that is not the case, the equation will be reduced to a linear equation. In this case, it will be called as a linear equation rather than a quadratic equation. So make sure if someone asks you whether the given equation is quadratic, you have to find the highest power of x. If that is 2, in that case you can easily say that is a quadratic equation. So these are the very basics of quadratic equation, and you must have realized I haven't told you anything new. Degree, coefficients, polynomials, linear, cubic, quadratic, all these things were very common which you have already learned, and that's why I told you if you have remembered the chapter of polynomial, things will be a cakewalk for you. Otherwise, you will find it difficult, and as I suggest, for better understanding of this chapter, you must go back to the video of polynomials where we revise polynomial. That will help you a lot. So that was about the basic of quadratic polynomial. So let's talk about the first thing which I told you. Whether the given equation is always a quadratic equation or not, how would you check? So here we have an example, x plus 2 whole cube equals to x cube minus 4. Yes and no basically is for the question whether it's a quadratic equation or not. Alright, so I would suggest pause the video, try to solve and give me the answer. Few of the students might be surprised what's there to be solved. Sir, I can see over here there is 3. So this will not be a quadratic equation, rather this will be a cubic equation. That's not how things work. In mathematics, always you have to take your pen and put on the paper and start solving. Better you'll get the answer over there. As I mentioned, to check whether the thing is a quadratic equation or not, what you need to make sure? You need to make sure the equation which you are having is reduced to the simplest form. The journal form is there or not. If journal form is not there, there can be a simplification which can be done. Either the cancellation part or the calculation part, addition or subtraction of few terms. There are like terms still which are remaining in the equation that you need to reduce them, that you need to calculate better and come up with a final equation. So let's do all the steps which I told you just now over here. To do that, one identity is required. And if you don't know the identity, then you will be struggling again in this question. Mathematics is not something which can be learned in isolation. For that, you have to make sure that each and everything, whatever you have learned till date, should be remembered. It's just like if you wouldn't have remembered the basic English of A, B, C, D, you will be struggling with the thing which I am communicating at the moment. So we have the identity A plus B whole cube. A plus B whole cube. How does it expand? This expand in a manner where we get a cube we get the other term's cube, that is b cube plus 3 into a, b, and we again multiply with a plus b. This is how this equation, or I must say identity. Another thing, what is identity? In the previous sessions of trigonometry, I talked about identity, how identity is different from any particular equation. This is another thing. This, I must say, the second thing which you must be looking forward to on your own. So here we have the identity. We must use the identity over here to check out whether the answer is yes or no. Basically, it means whether the given equation is a quadratic equation or not. Opening up this identity over here, so x plus 2 whole cube can be written as x cube plus 2 cube. 2 cube I am directly writing as 8. I hope you guys remember the cube of 2, the cube of 3, the cube of 4. These are all things which you must have learned in grade 8, right? So over here 2 cube is 8. Then 3 into x into 2, matlab a and into b over here. Then the addition of both the terms a plus b, so x plus 2. Now I can simplify this equation over here. X cube will remain as it is, x cube plus 8. Let me do the simplification. 3 into 2 is 6. 3 into 2 is 6. 6 into x. 6x into x. So this becomes 6x square. 3 into 2 is 6. 6x. 6x into x. 6x square. 6x into 2, that means 12x. Only x, not x square this time. Why? Because only one x is there. There is no x involved over here. So this is the final thing coming up to us. In this, we need to look for the like terms. What are like terms, sir? Having the same variable. So we are having x cube over here. We can't find any other term. Fine. Is there any other term which can be further simplified? This is x over here. This is square term and this is the constant term. So we are not able to find anything which can be further simplified. So we are leaving it as it is. But what we need to make sure, we need to equate to this thing because it is already given in the question. So equating over here, this part is x cube plus 8 plus 6x square plus 12x is given us equal to x cube minus 4. Now what happens over here? Few of the students who saw that there was a term having the power 3, so it must not be quadratic. But when you equate it like this, you will realize we are having two terms which are of cubic nature. This is also x cube, this is also x cube. When we are having two terms, both can be cancelled out because they are equal. Having the same coefficient of 1. So x cube minus x cube will leave us with 1. And once the cubic term is removed, the only thing which we are left with the highest power of the variable is 2. X square, 6x square, and other than that, all the x involved are less. You can further simplify the equation and write it. This is 6x square. We have 12x over here, so plus 12x. We have the constant values. We have 8 and we have 4. So this 4 coming on this side, coming as a positive term, plus 4. 8 plus 4 is again 12. 12 equals to 0. This is being used, this is being used, this is being used, this is being used, everything is used. We have got the final equation, and this final equation can further be reduced because it is having 6, 12 and 12. All three are having a common factor which you can divide the equation with. And now you can see we are having the final equation where the degree is not 3 but 2, and hence I can say that yes, this is a quadratic equation. So this is the manner you have to observe carefully whether the equation is quadratic or not by solving it, not just by seeing what is used, 3 or 4 or 2, because it can always be simplified. This is very common thing in each and everything where you have to simplify and check whether the given thing is of certain category or not. So it is the similar thing where we have to check whether the thing is trinomial or binomial or monomial. Now you must be remembering why I was mentioning the term polynomial again and again and going back to that particular session. After this, what we need to talk about? After this, we first of all need to talk about solution. Now when I talk about solution, first thing which will come to my mind is zeros. Zeros. You must be remembering this term, zeros. Zeros was used by me when I was teaching you polynomials, and I told you what are zeros? The value of x, or I must say the value of the variable for which the expression becomes equal to 0. Fine, this was the thing. Now, the thing used over here is not 0, it is solution. One thing should be easily understood. 0 is used for the expression. 0 is used for the expression, or I must say the polynomial, algebraic expression or the polynomials, whereas the solution is used for the term equation. Solution will be used when we are having a equation. And other than that, also we are having one more term which is quite commonly used, and that term is called as root. That term is called as root. Now, 0 is clear, solution is clear. How solution and root are interrelated? How they both are different? So what's the relation, or I must say what's the difference? Solution and roots would again be similar thing, but you will realize sometimes the solution is same. If I say 3, there are two solutions. So in this case, I would be saying this like this. We are having two roots, but the solution is only 3. The solution is only 3. By putting the value of the variable as 3, the equation will satisfy. So solutions are that value that satisfy the given equation. Roots, on the other hand, if we say for quadratic polynomial, the maximum possible roots are 2. So in that case, we will be having 2 roots irrespective whether they are same or not. I had said maximum root possible. Now you must remember that figure which I draw. These were the figures I draw. 2 times intersecting x-axis, so 2 roots. Only 1 time intersecting, so in this case what was happening? In this case also we are having 2 roots, but both the roots are equal. And the final case was the one where we do not have any intersection with x, and in that case we do not have any solution, or I must say the root. I will talk about that particular case as well. Now, since the solution part is clear, how do we find the solution of quadratic equations? For quadratic equation, you again need to understand how did we find the zeros of quadratic polynomial. We use the method of splitting the middle term. Can we use it over here? Why not? The only difference over here is equal to 0. This is the part. Other than that, everything remains the same. So let's revise quickly because we have already learned this. So we will not waste much time on this part. For splitting the middle term, we have to look for the constant value. Constant value has to be multiplied with the factor, not factor, the coefficient of x square. Over here we have 1, so 1 has to be multiplied with minus 10. We get minus 10. We need to make sure that minus 10 should be written in this manner that the addition of the two factors give us minus 3 and the multiplication of the two factors give us minus 10. So when you see for the factors of 10, 10 can be written as 2 into 5. 10 can be written as 2 into 5. 2 into 5 will give me minus 10, not 2 into 5, minus 2 or minus 5. One of these two has to be negative, and we have to make sure that minus 3 should come. So how can that be possible? The bigger number, that is 5, has to have a negative part. So I can split in this manner. This can be minus 5x plus 2x. What happened over here? Minus 5 plus 2 is minus 3. And minus 5 into 2 is 10 and minus 10. So that is how we have splitted the middle term. And now we can write in the factor form. X square will remain as it is. X square will remain as it is. This, as I mentioned, can be written as minus 5x plus 2x. And the last term, that is minus 10, equals to 0. This is our equation. We have splitted the middle term. Now doing the clubbing part, taking these two is 1, and we have x square over here, we have 5x, minus 5x over here. So I'll take x common. What I'm left with? I'm left with only x minus 5 plus taking 2 common in these two terms. When I take 2 common, I'll get again x minus 5, and that is the reason I took this. Minus 5 equals to 0. The final thing which we are coming up is x plus 2, and the other factor being x minus 5. Factors, yes, I am using the term factor. Why? Because you have already learned factorization. So the thing was given over here, you have factorized it. Now for the roots part, you have to equate these factors equal to 0. What I am saying, equate this x plus 2 equals to 0. x plus 2 equals to 0. So you'll get a root that is minus 2 from here. Same you will do for this part, x minus 5 equals to 0, and you will get another root which is x equals to 5. One coming out to be a negative, other coming out to be positive, and these are the roots, or I must say the solution, because the solution this time are two different numbers. So solution is minus 2 and 5. And how do we get the solution part? We get the solution by splitting the middle term, which we already know. So now you can try on your own. We can move on to the next equation and check whether you understand the solutions of quadratic equation or not. Just to make sure that you understand splitting the middle term, we are having a middle term which is bx. We have to split it in such a manner that two factors p and q are written in the form that their addition gives us bx. And what is p into q? P into q is nothing but the multiplication of c with the coefficient of x square. So a into c will be p into q, and p plus q, basically the addition of the two middle term, will be giving us bx. So this theory over here is of no use. If you have done the problems related to splitting the middle term, things would be very easy for you. Otherwise, it's of no use to you. So make sure that you practice, and for practicing, I'm giving you one more question over here. We have the question. This time the question has one thing which is square root, and I know this can scare many of you, and that is the reason I choose this question over here. Be more patient. Do what all the steps have to be taken. Multiplying the constant with the coefficient of x square, and then checking out the factors such that I get 7x. All these things has to be seen. Pause the video, try doing it. Let me do from my end. Over here we are having the constant which is 5 root 2, and we are having the coefficient of x square, that is root 2. What I told you, a being multiplied with c. 5 root 2 has to be multiplied with root 2. Root 2 multiplied by root 2. First chapter, real number. Real number tells us two numbers having square root above them. So both can be merged or both can be clubbed. So 2 into 2. When they both are in the square root, you can take out one of them. Over here, you'll be getting simply 2. 5 into 2, that is equal to 10. And we have the two factors. 5 into 2 is 10. And when I say 5x plus 2x, this will give me 7x. And this is how I can split the middle term, right? This is how I can split the middle term. So let me rewrite over here. Root 2x, root 2x square plus middle term I am writing in the form of 5x plus 2x. Final term will remain as it is. This is plus 5 root 2 equals to 0. Next step, clubbing the first two terms and taking out the common part. The common part in this case I can find out is only x. Only x. Why? Other than that, nothing can be taken common. We will get root 2 x over here because x square. So 1x taken out, only x is left. In this case, because we are having x and we have taken x common, we are left with 5 only. So root 2x plus 5. For these two one, what should I take common? Think about it. What should I take common? In this case, I would be taking common because this is having 2 and this is having root 2. So as I mentioned, 2 can be written as root 2 into root 2. So I'll be taking root 2 common. When I take root 2 common, I'll be left with root 2x. I need to make sure that the factors are like in this same form. So that will make us easy what to take common and what's not to. If you are confused how to take common, always look for this particular factor. If you have taken this factor correctly, you will ultimately realize what to take common over here. Root 2x plus the final thing, root 2 gone out, so only 5 is left, equals to 0. We are having the two factors. Let me rewrite them over here. X plus root 2 multiplied by this one, that is root 2x plus 5. Two factors are there and you can find out the roots by putting them equal to 0. Let me put this part equal to 0. I hope you realize why we are putting them equal to 0. A into B. A into B is equal to 0. So either A has to be 0 or B has to be 0. Either one of the case would be there. So putting this equal to 0, I'll get x equals to minus root 2. When I put this equals to 0, I'll get x equals to minus 5 by root 2. Now you can match with the given options to you. Minus root 2 minus 5 by root 2. I can see option number B, which is our correct answer. And that is how we need to solve our quadratic equation using the splitting middle term. This thing was very simple. This thing was very simple and easy, and we already know. There was nothing new as per se. We have basically, I must say in my own way, we have basically wasted last 10 to 15 minutes. Now, if we have wasted, we have to make up for it. How we can make up for it? We need to learn about a new formula, which is quadratic formula. Few of you might have this question. So, why are we learning a new formula if we already know how to find the solution of quadratic equation? The method which we know at the moment is a very hassle-some process. Why hassle-some? We are having 2887 x square plus 147 x plus 298 equals to 0. Now, this is the equation. This is not a trajectory of Chandrayaan. This is not a trajectory of Bumrah ball. This is a random equation which I have written over here. And this random equation, if I ask you to solve using the splitting the middle term, what do you think? Will you be having the same patience? No, I don't think so. That's the case. If that's the case, you are definitely a proven one. Over here, having such big numbers, making their factorization, going forward with them and finding out the splitting the middle term, that's a very, very difficult process in this particular case. And when we have such a big numbers, then we realize the importance of quadratic formula. Now, quadratic formula basically is direct formula to find the solution for a given equation. Equation is always written in the form of ax square plus bx plus c. This was the case, right? And I told you why this case was important. You need to focus over here. What all are a, b and c? A is the coefficient of x square, b is the coefficient of x, and c is the constant. All the three terms has to be on the right hand side. All the three has to be on the right hand side, or from the both side, left hand side, whatever you feel right. Don't get confused in the right left thing. And basically the one other side should be equal to 0, all the terms on other side. Once we have this thing, with the value of a, b and c, we can directly find out the value of x. We can directly find out the value of x using quadratic formula rather than going for the multiple step, which gives us the splitting the middle term. What exactly is this magic wand which we are talking about? This magic wand we are talking about is quadratic formula, which is viewed in this particular manner. X equals to minus b plus minus root of b square minus 4ac upon 2a. Things might be seeming complicated at the moment, but they are very simple. How? First thing first, since we are talking about quadratic equation, what I told you, at max there would be two solutions. But I am seeing over here x equal to something. Only one? No, that's not the case. Observe over here, plus minus. Why that is the case? If you are taking out the square root of any term, if you are taking a square root of, let's say, d. If you are taking a square root of d, always the square root would open as plus or minus. When you must have been in the smaller grades, you would have been told that use the positive square root. Positive square root basically means get the value out of the square root which is positive. Ignore the negative one. But now you are not in any smaller grade. You are in grade 10, and which is a higher grade. After that, you will be in much higher grade. So you need to understand the basic mathematics that when you open up the square root, it has to be positive as well as negative. Why? Because the thing is very simple. 4 square is also 16 and minus 4 square is also 16. So when you take the square root of 16, it can be either minus 4 or plus 4. And since we are having a square root sign over here, so when you open up that square root, it can be positive or negative. So we are having two roots. One being x equals to minus b plus root of b square minus 4ac upon 2a, and other being taking up the only negative sign over here and giving us x equals to minus b minus of square root b square minus 4ac upon 2a. These are the two roots. First thing was this. And second thing, what exactly is this b square minus 4ac? This is a very important thing called as a discriminant. What does it discriminate about? You'll come to know about this particular part, what exactly it discriminate. Over here, you need to understand that directly you have to calculate the value of D. Directly you have to calculate the value of D. When you have the square root, you can get the answer. Because if let's say the value of D comes out to be 225, you can directly write 15 over there, because square root of D is what you need to check for. So D is nothing but D is the value of B square minus 4AC. In the next 15 to 20 minutes, I'll talk about this in more detail about exactly D. But over here, the important thing was understanding this formula. Formula X over here, X is the variable. Now don't get confused that always the quadratic formula gives us the value of X. No, that's not the case. It can give you the possible values of whatever variable being used in the equation. X is just a way to represent this particular thing. A, B and C, the other three things which are used, they are what? They are just the coefficients and the constant value. Ax square plus bx plus c should always be associated with this particular formula so as to understand what exactly is A, B and C. I hope I had made the point. Three main points were there. General form, which gives us the value of A, B and C. Second thing was that the two roots are there, one being positive, another being negative. And the third thing is discriminant is what? Discriminant is the value of B square minus 4AC. We should always try to calculate that value first and then put up the value of D in the given formula over here. Now formula cannot be mucked up. Formula you can write in your notebook, I hope, which you have already done. But most importantly, remember the formula when you solve few questions on it. So let's start with our mathematics, because till now I have been talking a lot. So let's not talk that much and do more of calculation. Equation is given to us. What we need to do? We need to find out the values A, B and C. A being the coefficient of x square, so A has to be 2. B being the coefficient of x. Now, coefficient of x does not mean only the numerical value. It has to have the negative part or the positive part. If the sign is positive, the value will be positive. If the sign is negative, it has to be taken as the negative value. So, minus 7 would be the value of B. For C, again the positive one, so C has to be 3. Once you have A, B and C, now as I told, calculate the value of discriminant, which is what? B square minus 4AC. Putting up these values, B square minus 7 square. When we are squaring a negative number, does it hold any value, that negative part? No, because negative into negative will become positive and we'll get 7 square as 49. Minus 4 into, the value of A is 2, the value of C is 3. So 2 into 3. That means 2 into 3 is 6 and 6 into 4 is 24. 49 minus 24. I hope we can do the calculation over here. 49 minus 24 will give me 25. 25. Now, this number should automatically ignite your mind. Why? 25 is nothing but 5 square. So, I must say this is equal to 5 square. So, when the question comes about the calculating the value, which is minus B plus minus, what I am writing over here? Square root of D. Rather than writing in the longer form of B square minus 4AC, I am simply writing square root of D upon 2A. Upon 2A. Let's put all the value over here. Minus B. Minus B. B was over here minus 7. So, I am putting up the value minus into minus 7. Plus minus square root of 5 square. So, square root, and inside that we have a square number, so square and the square root part will cancel out. Exponent, I hope you remember, A raised to the power 1 by 2. This is what the square root of A is. So when I say I am having A square inside a square root, this is nothing but A raised to the power 2 into 1 by 2, which will leave us only with A. This is the additional part I have shown just to make you understand. But this is very obvious thing over here. Writing over here, the denominator part, 2 into A being 2, so 2 into 2, 4. Writing final thing, minus 7 plus minus 7, that is 7 plus minus 5 upon 4. Fine, 7 plus minus 5 upon 4. So, two answers you'll be getting. From here. The first answer will be 7 plus 5, that is 12. 12 by 4, that gives you 3. Another thing over here, 7 minus 5, that is 2. 2 by 4, that is 1 by 2. Here we have the final answer. The final answer is 3 and 1 by 2. Nothing. I have taken lot much time, but the thing was very simple. Use the quadratic formula, put up the values of A, B and C and get the final answer. As simple as that. A, B, C, get the value of D, find out B square minus 4AC, put up all the values of A, B and C. B value was minus 7, 7 square, 49, 4 into 2 into 3, 25, that is 5 square. Putting the value over here, we are having with 5, minus 7 is 7 and upon 2 into A is 2 into 2, 4. We have done the calculation, we got the final answer. That was the reason I make you learn the quadratic formula, otherwise you would have gone for the splitting the middle term, which you have taken as usual time. Now, as you do more and more question using this formula, you'll realize how quick this formula is. So, let's try a few more questions. Next question over here. Write down the value of A, B and C quickly without wasting any time. A being the coefficient of x square, B being the coefficient of x and C being the not coefficient over here, that's a constant value, minus 4. 2, 1, minus 4. Calculate the value of D, that is B square minus 4AC. Value of B is given to me as 1, so 1 square is 1 minus 4 into A value is 2 and C value is minus 4. Now, understand this part. In the previous question, I haven't talked about this. Why am I writing this in the bracket? The reason is the value of A or the value of C, either or one of them can be positive or negative. When the value comes out to be negative, what happens? This negative and negative will become what? Negative, negative, two electrons colliding. What happening? Over here in mathematics, nothing happens. Minus, minus becomes positive. So, 1 plus 4 into 2, 4 into 2, 8, 8 into 4, that is 32, plus 32. Final thing coming up is 33. It's not a square number. Last time we were having a square number, perfect square, that is 25, but this time we are not having perfect square. So what will happen? The implication would be over here. X, going by the formula, is minus B plus minus square root of D by 2A. Putting up all the values, minus B. B, since over here is 1, so minus 1 plus minus square root of 33. And I cannot split it further because 33 factors are 3 and 11 and they are not forming any kind of pair. We cannot take out any number out of it. In the denominator, 2 into 8. 2 into 2, that is 4. This is our final answer. I'll not write it any further because I cannot see any scope of further simplification over here. The point in this question or in this particular equation was to make you understand how a negative number in the value of A and C can create a difference, because minus minus become positive. So every time it doesn't mean that from B square you have to subtract something. You can add also depending upon the sign. So don't take things for granted. Always look carefully as we have done in all the cases where it has been asked whether the equation is quadratic or not. Next equation. Because we are over here to solve the chapter of quadratic equations, so everything will be related to equation. This time we are having a square root inside so that you don't get scared this time, because you don't have to split it the middle term. You have to use the formula, get the value of A, B and C. Starting over here, A being 3, B being minus 4 root 3 and C being equals to 4. Alright, very simple, A, B and C. Getting the value of D, which is B square minus 4AC. B square, that means minus 4 root 3 whole square minus 4 into the value of A is 3, the value of C is 4, and this is what we need to calculate. This time the calculation seems to be bigger just because we have a number in the square which is square root. Minus minus will become positive, 4 square will become 3. Not 3, what I am saying. Square root of 3 will become 3 because square root of 3 into square root of 3, we are getting a pair of 3, we will get 1 3 out of it. 4 square is 16, 16 into 3 is 48. This is how we need to do it. Most of the students make a mistake over here when we have a square root inside. So avoid that mistake. 4 into 3, 4 into 3 is 12, 12 into 4 is 48, 48 minus 48 is 0. I choose this question deliberately just to make you understand that we are having different values of D. In the previous case, we were having positive value, but that might be a case where we get equal to 0. When we get equal to 0, what happens? You can observe using the formula. In the formula, we were having plus minus square root of d. This time this d is 0. What happens with the factors? Or I must say the solution. X equals to minus b plus minus square root of b square minus 4ac upon 2a. This entire terms becomes 0 for us. When this entire terms becomes 0 for us, so what do you think? I was talking about the difference between the roots and the solution. I told you that we are always having two roots, but the solution is the value which satisfies the equation. If the same value is satisfying the equation, only one solution was there. The solution is minus b by 2a. You can put up the values because now the value of d does not matter because it ended up being 0. So putting up the values of b and a, b being minus 4 root 3, a being plus 3. So 2 into 3. Final answer over here. Minus minus becomes plus 4 root 3 upon 6. You can simplify it further, cancelling out by 2. So this will be 2 over here, 3 over here. So further simplification you can do on your own, but the point should be taken note over here. And the point was about this. That the value of discriminant can be positive, it can be negative, it can be positive, negative as well as 0. We have taken up the two cases where it has gone to 0, where it has been positive. So third case is remaining. Let's come to that part and introduce you to the new topic over here, nature of roots. Roots or the solution means same over here. So what do I mean by the nature? I told you discriminant can be positive, negative or 0. The value of discriminant will decide many things. How? When we calculate this particular equation, for this we'll start with the value of discriminant b square minus 4ac. I hope you have already noted down the value of a, b and c in your notebook. When you put up the values, b square minus 3 square is 9 minus 4 into the value of a is 2 and the value of c is 5. 9 minus 4 into 10. 2 into 5 is 10. 4 into 10 is 40. What happens? Minus 31. A value which is less than 0. A value which is less than 0. And this is the case where we cannot find the solution. Because d is less than 0. When d is less than 0, you cannot find the solution because you only know the square root of positive numbers. Only positive numbers. You do not know the square root of negative number. This much knowledge at the moment you do not have. Why I say that at the moment you do not have? Definitely, if you are learning about quadratic equation, that doesn't mean that you are qualified enough to go for Chandrayaan, understand the dynamics of Chandrayaan, right? So at the moment you don't know this much, but when you go up, when you move into the higher grades like 11th and 12th, you will realize they also have certain value. But that value should not be real. That value would not be real since we deal in the real number. So the roots or the solution will not be real when we have the value of d less than 0. So I talked about the three cases, and that three cases dictates the nature of roots. One case being the value of d being positive. One case being the value of d being positive. Other case being d equals to 0, and the final case where d is less than 0. All the three cases will give you an idea what kind of roots would be there, what kind of a solution would be there. In this case, it will be always real. But real, it can be rational as well as irrational. You know, real is made up of rational and irrational. Rational and irrational. And in other case where we have equal to 0, what will happen? We are pretty sure it is real as well as equal. Same value. Solution is 1. Why? Because only by putting that value you'll get the you'll satisfy the equation. Roots will be 2, but they both will be equal. But this final case will not have no real solution. No real solution. So over here, we are having this summary for the entire part of the nature of solution. What summary exactly? We are having the value of discriminant. I talked about discriminant. Discriminant is the D part, which is B square minus 4AC. If that comes out to be 0, we are pretty sure that the roots will be equal and they would be real. But when it is less than 0, another thing for sure, that will not be real. What kind of roots would be there? You have to be much more patient and make sure that you pass out grade 10 with the flourishing marks. The next two cases are where both being greater than 0, but in one case there is a perfect square, like the first case, square root of 25, we'll get 5. So in that case we'll get a rational number in the answer. But when we do not have the perfect square, like root 33, in that case we cannot further factorize root 33, and the answer which we'll be getting, or the solution which we'll be getting, will be a irrational number. So these are the 4 cases which we have for discriminant, and that is all which we have in the topic of nature of roots of quadratic equation. I hope you realize the importance of this particular thing. Let's say you are talking about certain real life situation. Let's say you are talking about some real life situation. Now you might form up an equation for that. But that's not necessary that equation holds for a real life thing. It might be possible there is no solution for it. You are talking about hypothetical thing. Let me give an example. And we move on to the final part of our session over here, where we'll be talking about the application. Before moving on to the application, let's see what kind of a question we can have in the discriminant or the nature of roots over here. The question says, find the discriminant of the equation. The equation is given to us, and hence find the nature of its root. So finding nature is very simple, calculating the value of D. Once we have the value of D, we know the nature of its root. If they are real, if they are for real, then in that case you need to find the root. So nothing, we need to write the equation 3x square minus 2x plus 1 by 3. We need to have the value of A, B, C, A being over here 3, B being over here minus 2, and C being equals to 1 by 3. D is B square minus 4AC. Putting up all the values, B being minus 2 square is 4, minus 4 into A, 3 into 1 by 3. Things become simple for you because you can cancel out 3 by 3. So 4 into 1, 4 minus 4 equals to 0. When we have the value of discriminant equals to 0, what happens? When the discriminant is equal to 0, we have real roots. And in that case, you have to find what are the roots, and finding out roots would not be difficult because that will be equals to minus B by 2A. Putting up again the same values, B was minus 2, so minus plus 2 upon 3 into 2, 3 into 2 is 6. So we are having 1 by 3 as the final answer. Very simply done. This is about the discriminant. How discriminant can help you. But in discriminant also, they can form you with complex situations. Like what? Observe this question over here. Find the values of k for the following quadratic equation so that they have 2 equal roots. We already know that the equation formed over here will have 2 equal roots. When do we have equal roots? When the discriminant value is 0. Now in this case, you have to find the value of k for such a scenario. Start with the question. Over here, always make sure that the equation is in the general form because we are interested in the value of A, B and C. Writing the general form. Kx multiplied with x. So this will be k, kx square, kx being multiplied with minus 2, so minus 2kx, this being multiplied with this being multiplied with this part being done, plus 6 equals to 0. Now it seems to be much more similar. We are having x square term, we are having a x term, and we are having a constant value. Over here, now we can find out the value of D. Let's start. B square minus 4AC. Value of B is minus 2k. I hope you realize this is the coefficient of x x being separated, whatever is left is the coefficient of x, minus 2k. So minus 2k whole square minus 4 into, this is the value of a because x square other than that is the coefficient, 4 into k into c. C value is 6. 2 square, that means 4. 4k square, negative negative becomes positive, minus 4 into 6, 24, 24k. We already know one more thing, that this particular equation is having two equal roots. And when is it possible? It is only possible when we have the value of d equals to 0. So let's put the value of d equals to 0. This being equals to 0. When I put this being equal to 0, I need to make sure that I take common over here. So I'll take 4k as common. When I take 4k as common, only k is left. In the other term, if 4 is taken out, only thing left is 6. What happens? From here, a into b equals to 0. Another scenario where we have either the value of a being equal to 0 or b being equal to 0. From this, k would be equal to 0. And from this, we will be having k as equal to 6. Now, this is one answer, this is another answer. I can see in the option we are having all the positive values, 6 and other values. So this answer is correct, I am sure about it. But why we don't have in the option the value k equals to 0? Think about it. Why k cannot be equal to 0? If you put some pressure on your mind, you will realize if you put the value of k equal to 0, what will happen? This is our equation. In the equation, x square is having coefficient of k. When k becomes 0, this entire term will become 0. This entire term will become 0. And if this entire term becomes 0, this equation will not be quadratic anymore. From the very starting, I am telling it has to be quadratic by only when we are having the coefficient other than 0. If it becomes 0, the equation will be reduced to linear, and which is not we are looking forward to. So over here, this will not be the correct thing. We will not use this part. We will only use this value of k equals to 6. Option number A being the answer over here. The values, the nature of the roots, the discriminant, everything has been discussed. And now we are on to the final page of this particular chapter, which deals with the application from where I started. Chandrayaan, the projectile motion, Bumrah being bowling and all. But for you at the moment, I cannot talk about all these things anymore, because first you have to understand the real life situation you have around yourself, which can be easily reduced to quadratic equation. Like what? As you remember, this particular chapter had already used one chapter, that is polynomial. There is another chapter which can be related to this particular chapter, that is known as the linear equation. In linear equation, we used to have word problems. In the similar manner, we used to have word problem in this case also. In this case, we will be having word problem, but the only difference over here is, rather than going for 2 variables, we will be limiting ourselves only to 1 variable. And by that, the equation we will be getting will be a quadratic equation. Understand over here. They are saying, is it possible to design a rectangular park of perimeter 80 meter and area being 400 meters square? Perimeter is given and the area is given to you. You know the formula for both of them. I hope at least you know. If you don't know, you must remember, or I must say you must revise some of the geometry of the basic grade 6 to 8. Area of any rectangle is length into breadth. And the perimeter for any rectangle is 2 into L plus B. If you know this, well and good. If you don't know, you need to take a step back and revise this part as well. Coming back to the question, the perimeter is 80 meter. That means perimeter, the formula for which is 2 into L plus B, is given to me as 80. From here, I can conclude that the value of L plus B will be 40. L and B, length and the breadth, when added will give me 40. Also, I added that in quadratic equation, you will be having only one variable. You will not be using 2 variables. So L and B, 2 variables over here. I'll reduce this to one variable, saying that B is equals to what? 40 minus L. How I'll be using it? I have been given another relation, area. Area is already being mentioned. Area for me is given to me as L into B equal to 400 meters square. Putting up the value of L and B, L remain as it is, but the value of P I have written in terms of L. So 40 minus L. What I have done? I have reduced B in the form of L. Now I can use in the form of L, both having the same variable. Now I can form a quadratic equation. L into 40, 40L. L into minus L, that means minus L square equals to 400. The equation which we are going to get over here, converting into the general form, ax square plus bx plus c. So I'll be getting L square, taking it on the other side, minus 40L equals to, not equals to, this would be there, plus 400 equals to 0. This was the first step of any word problem. What we have to do? Read the word problem carefully. Read the word problem carefully. Make sure that you have only one variable. Why? Automatically also you'll realize, because in case of linear equation, two variable, we were having two information. Over here also we have two information, but in this case we are having the product. Area is what? Area is the product of the two variables. Wherever we have the product of the two variables, you have to reduce them into one. Understand that this is a question of quadratic equation, not linear equations. So you have converted B in the form of L. When you have addition of two things, two quantities, you can always write one in the form of other. So breadth is 40 minus L. Use that in the given second information and frame an equation. Once you have the equation, now you can always go for the answer. Now, when I reach to this final answer, I have one more addition. It's not always I'll be going for quadratic formula. Sometimes, if it seems to me that the coefficients are so simple that they can be written in the form of, directly splitting the middle term, I'll go for that. Why I'm saying so? 400. When I do the factors of 400, what will happen? 20 into 20, 2 into 2 is 4, and 10 into 10 will give me 100. Now, 20 into 20. Minus 40 can be written as 20 into 20, not 20 into 20. 20 minus 20, minus 20 minus 20 when added will give me minus 40, and hence directly I can have the answer. Let me write it and show it to you if you have any confusion. L square minus 40L plus 400 equals to 0. I can split the middle term over here and write it as minus 20L plus 400 equals to 0. Taking the common part, L is common, so L minus 20 is common. So again L minus 20 equals to 0. From here I get the value of L as equals to 20, which is my answer. Over here. L being 20, I know that the breadth value will be what? From here, putting up the value of breadth will come out to be again 20. Another answer. L being 20, breadth being 20, both were being equal, and when both were equal, the perimeter comes out to be 80 over here, and the area come out to be 400 meters square. Very simple problem. Both things involved. Word problem, that means the application, the quadratic equation involved, and the solution for quadratic equation. Everything, whatever we have learned this chapter, discriminant was also involved. You must have not realized, but when you go for the value of discriminant over here, it will come out to be 0, and that is the reason. The solution is 1, that is 20. The two roots are there, but the value remains the same, and it is equal to 20. This is how it needs to be done. It uses geometry. But every time will there be geometry? No, that's not the case. The next problem relates to the age part. You must remember the age part with which you were so scared in the linear equation. How will it work it out? Is the following situation possible? Question mark over here. Is it possible or not? Why they are saying so? Because they are saying so, if discriminant comes out to be less than 0, will it be possible? No, that will case it is unreal, not real solution. If you don't have real solution, the situation is not possible. Let's read it out. Determine the present age. We need to find the present age. Okay. The sum of the ages of the two friends is 20. If the two friends are having age, let's say x and y. Okay. X plus y equals to 20. I must reduce the other variable in terms of x only. So y from here will come out to be 20 minus x. Both have been in terms of x. When both have been in terms of x, they say another information that says 4 years ago, the product of their ages. I told you wherever we have product, in that case quadratic equation has to be used. Product of their ages. Now product of their ages, but 4 years ago. 4 years ago, x would not be the age. Age would be x minus 4. 4 years ago, what would be age? Age would be 20 minus x minus 4, right? So this can be reduced to x minus 4 into 20 minus 4 is 16 minus x equals to, the product is given to you as 48, equals to 48. Equals to 48. Why I have written like this and left it like this? The reason is I want you also to be involved in the session rather than listening just like this. This equation has to be opened up, written in the form of general form, and then using the value of A, B and C, you need to check for the value of D. The best part about this is I am telling you the answer for this particular problem. In this particular problem, the value of D will come out to be 0. Not 0, sorry, less than 0. Now, when we have the value of D less than 0, what happens? You know, the situation is not real anymore. The solution you'll be getting will not be real. And hence, this situation is not possible at the first place itself. And the answer is not possible. That's it. But for that, you have to convert the given English statement in the mathematical form, form a general equation, find out the value of D, and from that you'll get the nature of the roots. Nature of the roots will be unreal and the situation will not be possible. Understood? I hope you have understood. By the meantime, please start solving this particular problem over here. Next one. This time involving numbers. Find two numbers whose sum is 27 and the product is 182. Whose sum is 27 and the product is 182. A plus B, two numbers having the sum being 27. But you don't need to use two variables. You need to use only one. So let me write B as 27 minus A. 27 minus A. Now the product is given, hence quadratic equation. So A being multiplied with B will give me 182. 182 is the product. A remains as it is. I write B in the form of A. That is 27 minus A equals to 182. Solving it, 27A minus A square equals to 182. Fair enough. Over here, taking this A square on the other side so as to make this A square as positive. A square minus 27A plus 182. This is our final equation. This is our general form. Once we have the general form, convert the statement in the mathematical form, write the general form. After that, things are very simple as usual. Go forward with the basic method which we know. The basic method is the quadratic formula, the value of D. The value of D is B square minus 4AC. B over here is 27 minus 27 square plus, not plus, minus 4 into A. A is 1. 1 into 482. 182. Doing the calculation, 27 square. This you need to do on your own. This should come out to be what? 27 square should definitely have 9 at that. 7 into 7 will be 49. So 9 would be there. So I think this will come out to be 729. You can check on your own doing the calculation. Since I have understanding of square, I have learned it for multiple years, not learned exactly, I have calculated for multiple years. I have a realization this will come out to be 729. 4 into 2 is 8. 4 into 8 is 32. We are having 3. So 4 into 1 is 4. 4 plus 3 is 728. The value of D comes out to be 1. Things becomes much more simpler. Why? Now the solution for A. Now the solution for A which we are trying will be what? A equals to minus. A equals to minus all the values which we have used. Minus 27 plus minus square root of 1, which will not have any impact at all, into divided by 2. So this leaves us with 27 plus minus 1. So 27 plus 1 by 2 and 27 minus 1 by 2. From this case, you can easily find the numbers 27 plus 1, that is 28 by 2 is 14 over here, and 26 by 2 is 13 over here. 13 and 14. These are the two numbers. When you add 13 and 14, when you add, we'll get 27, and when you find the product, will come out to be 182. The two solutions over here are already there. Either you put over here, then also if you take 14 and put over here, and you will get the other to be 13. So no need to do it again and again. I hope you have understood and realized this part. So this was one problem. Let me take you with final problem, or another problem which I'll give you over here. This problem I'll not be solving. This is a homework for you, because not everything has to be done in the classroom. Something has to be taken in your study room where you have to solve it. Altitude and the base relation is given. Hypotenuse value is given. What we need to do? We know that altitude square plus base square, or I must say over here p square plus b square, will be equal to the hypotenuse square. What is the relation given? Altitude of a right triangle is 7 less than the base. If I say base is x, so this would be what? This would be what? Is 7 less than the base. That means x minus 7. X minus 7 square plus x square equals to the hypotenuse, which is given to you as 13. You have a quadratic equation in terms of x. You can calculate the value of x and find out the values of altitude and base. This is the homework for you. I have already given you the hint, or I must say more than a hint. I have done half of the part, because logical idea of the starting of the question is half of it. One final question on which I would like to end the session is this problem over here. Again, a problem dealing with numbers. Two consecutive positive integers are there. Their product has been mentioned to be as 306. We need to find the integers. How can we start, sir? Only one information is given. In such a case, you need to make sure that you read the given problem carefully. Two consecutive integers. Two consecutive means one after the other. If one is x, other would be what? X plus 1. And the product is given to you as 306. Things become simple. X into x plus 1 equals to 306. Over here, x square plus x equals to 306. Or I must say this is x square plus x minus 306 equals to 0. This is another equation which you need to solve on your own. But this time, I need to warn you beforehand. What warning do I have? I have a very straightforward warning. The thing mentioned over here is positive integer. The thing over here mentioned is positive integer. When you find out the roots of the given equation, one would be positive, another would be negative. Which one you have to take? You cannot take negative, because you already know that the answer has to be a positive integer. So negative has to be ignored, only the positive one has to be taken, and accordingly you will get the value of 2x. One being x, other being x plus 1. That will be your final answer. And that is how the application of quadratic equation works. You'll realize the application is nothing different. The application is very similar to the linear equation. This time in this word problems, we are having using only one variable, and since we are having one variable being multiplied, so the product is giving us a quadratic equation. So I hope you have realized the importance of this chapter in our day-to-day life, in our real life. Basic things, that problem related to age, the problems related to the number, the problem related to the age part, which we were very scared in the linear equation part. That is also easily solved using quadratic equation. So make sure that you revise the very basic of this particular chapter, that is the quadratic formula, splitting the middle term, the nature of the roots, and the very basic things, how to convert the English statement into the mathematical form. That's all I have from my end, but you can learn how the ball tracking thing is written in the mathematical form and come out to be quadratic, how the projectile motion, which we'll be learning in grade 11, is directly related to quadratic equation, because the curve, that is parabola, is drawn using that equation. These all are fun things which you have to learn at least now, and using this base you will be learning in grade 11th and 12th. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you don't, then also make sure that you have the basic points on your fingertips. I'll meet you in the next session. We'll revise the next part. Till then, have a great time. Enjoy yourself. Bye bye and take care.